67% of relationships involve silent treatment. That means you've either done it or had it done to you. Probably both. Here's the thing no one wants to admit. When someone else goes quiet on you, it feels like cruelty. When you do it, you tell yourself it's different, that you had reasons, that they should have known, but your brain doesn't care about reasons. It processes silence the same way whether you're giving it or getting it, like a threat, like danger, like something inside you might not survive. So let's talk about what's actually happening when people give up on people without saying a word. You know the feeling. Someone you care about just stops responding, stops engaging, stops acting like you exist. And the worst part isn't even the conflict that came before. It's the nothing that comes after. Silent treatment is one of the most common experiences in human relationships. Nearly 7 in 10 people have dealt with it in some form. That's not a small problem affecting a few difficult people. That's most of us, either sitting in the silence or creating it. But here's what makes it different from other relationship problems. When someone yells at you, at least you know where you stand. When someone criticizes you, at least there's something to respond to. Silence gives you nothing. No target, no explanation, no way to fix what you don't understand. And so, you're left in this impossible position trying to solve a puzzle where someone's hidden all the pieces, replaying conversations, scanning for clues, wondering what you did, what you said, what you missed. The silence isn't empty. It's full of everything you're afraid might be true. What most people don't realize is that this isn't just an emotional experience, it's a physical one. Your body is responding to silence in ways that might surprise you. Researchers put people in brain scanners and had them experience social exclusion. Simple stuff like being left out of a game, being ignored in a conversation. Nothing physically harmful. But here's what the scans showed. The same brain regions that activate during physical pain lit up during social rejection. Not similar regions, the same ones. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between someone ignoring you and someone causing you physical harm. This is why silent treatment doesn't feel like a minor relationship inconvenience. Your nervous system treats it as a survival threat, because for most of human history, being excluded from your group meant death. No protection, no resources, no future. So when someone you love goes quiet, your body doesn't think you're having a communication problem. It thinks you're in danger. Heart rate increases. Stress hormones flood your system. Your mind starts racing through every possible explanation, every possible fix, every possible way to make the threat go away. You're not being dramatic when silence devastates you. You're not being too sensitive. You're being human. And your biology is doing exactly what millions of years of evolution designed it to do. But here's where it gets complicated. The person on the other side of that silence is often experiencing something just as overwhelming. The person who goes silent isn't always sitting there enjoying your suffering. Sometimes they're drowning. There's a phenomenon psychologists call emotional flooding. It's when your nervous system gets so overwhelmed by conflict, by emotion, by the sheer intensity of what's happening, that it essentially shuts down. Your brain stops being able to process information normally. Words won't form. Thoughts won't organize. Everything feels like too much. In that state, silence isn't a choice. It's an inability. The system has gone offline. You know, code red, all hands on deck, shut everything down. Very scientific terminology, obviously. This doesn't excuse the impact, but it explains something important. Some people who go silent aren't trying to punish you. They're trying to survive their own internal chaos. They might even believe they're protecting you by not unleashing whatever storm is happening inside them. Here's the cruel irony. They think they're being kind. They think by not yelling, not saying something they'll regret, not making it worse, they're doing you a favor. Meanwhile, you're on the other side experiencing their silence as abandonment, as rejection, as proof that you don't matter enough to fight for. Two people in enormous pain, neither one able to reach the other. But emotional flooding doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's usually learned. Understanding where it comes from shifts how you see the pattern. Most people who use silent treatment didn't invent it. They inherited it. Think about how a child learns that love can be withdrawn, a parent who stops speaking when disappointed, a household where conflict meant everyone retreating to separate rooms, a family where the worst punishment wasn't yelling. It was the cold shoulder that could last for days. Children in these environments learn something profound and damaging. They learn that love is conditional, that connection can be turned off, that silence is a tool for managing relationships. And they carry that template into every relationship that follows. This isn't about blaming parents or excusing behavior. It's about understanding that the person who goes silent on you might be running a program that was installed decades ago. They might not even recognize they're doing it. It feels natural to them. It's how relationships work in their experience. And here's the harder truth. If you grew up in a similar environment, you might be running the same program. You might reach for silence without realizing you're repeating a pattern you swore you'd never repeat. Recognizing where the behavior comes from creates the possibility of changing it, but it doesn't obligate you to accept it, because sometimes silence isn't about flooding or learned patterns. Sometimes it's about something darker. There's a difference between someone who can't speak and someone who won't. Relationship researcher John Gottman identified stonewalling as one of 4 behaviors that predict whether relationships will fail. Not struggle, fail. When one partner consistently withdraws, refuses to engage, shuts down communication, the relationship is in serious danger. And here's what makes weaponized silence different from overwhelmed silence. Intent, control, the understanding that by withholding words, you're holding power. About 40% of people who use silent treatment admit they do it specifically to avoid being held accountable. They know that if they stay quiet long enough, the other person will either give up or take all the blame just to end the discomfort. Want to level up your people skills? Join our community on YouTube or on my Patreon for exclusive scripts, early access, and connection with people who get the social struggle. Links below. Let's master human interaction together. Silence becomes a strategy, a way to win without fighting. Some people describe a certain satisfaction in watching someone try desperately to reconnect, in making someone work for a response, in having the power to decide when the punishment ends. This is the line between coping mechanism and emotional abuse. Needing space to calm down is not the same as 3 days of freezing someone out. One is self-regulation, one is control. And the person doing it almost always knows the difference, even if they won't admit it. If you've been on the receiving end of this kind of silence, you already know what it does to you. Silent treatment doesn't just hurt in the moment, it rewires how you see yourself. The first thing that happens is hypervigilance. Your brain becomes a detective, but the only suspect is you. You replay every interaction looking for the mistake, the wrong word, the wrong tone. The thing you must have done to deserve this. Then comes the self-doubt. Maybe you're making a big deal out of nothing. Maybe this is normal. Maybe you're too needy, too sensitive, too much. You start questioning your own perceptions, your own reality. You see them active on social media, posting stories, commenting on other people's content, clearly using their phone, clearly choosing not to respond to you. There's a specific kind of torture in this. It removes even the possibility that maybe they're busy, maybe they didn't see it, maybe something came up. No, they saw it, they chose silence, and you gotta watch them choose it. Unanswered texts have become the modern stonewalling, the seen but not responded to, the slow fade where responses take longer and longer until they stop entirely. The message left unread like a door closed in your face. And because we're so connected now, the silence is louder. You can track exactly how long it's been. You can see precisely what they're doing instead of talking to you. The uncertainty that used to provide some small comfort has been replaced by certainty that somehow feels worse. Really adds a special layer of psychological torture that our grandparents never got to experience. But here's where I need to turn this around, because this isn't just about what's been done to you. When was the last time you went quiet on someone? Think about it. The text you saw but didn't answer. The relationship you let die by just not responding anymore. The person who reached out and got silence because you didn't know what to say, or didn't want to deal with it, or just hoped the problem would go away. When they did it to you, it was cruel. When you did it, what did you tell yourself? That they should have known, that you needed space, that they were being too much, that it was different because you had reasons. Everyone has reasons. The person who went silent on you had reasons too. They told themselves the same things you told yourself. That it was necessary, that it was temporary, that it wasn't really that bad. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The difference between you and the people you're frustrated with might be smaller than you want to believe. Most of us have been on both sides, giving and receiving, hurting and being hurt, convinced we're different when we're the one holding the silence. This isn't about guilt, it's about recognition, because you can't break a pattern you won't acknowledge. So, what do you actually do with all of this? I know you might be waiting for a script, magic words that make the silent person talk, a technique that forces engagement. I don't have that, and honestly, no one does. Here's what most people get wrong. When someone goes silent, the instinct is to pursue harder. More messages, more attempts, more effort to prove you care, to show you're trying, to break through the wall. But pursuit often makes it worse. For someone who's emotionally flooded, more input creates more overwhelm. For someone using silence as control, chase confirms their power. Either way, running after them rarely brings them closer. It's like asking how to make water run uphill. You can want it really hard. It's still not happening. What works better is harder, stating clearly what you need, accepting that you can't control their response, focusing on your own regulation instead of trying to manage theirs, setting boundaries around what you will and won't accept in terms of communication. This isn't about winning or making them wrong. It's about protecting yourself from a pattern that will keep hurting you if you don't interrupt it. Some silences are temporary. Someone who needs a few hours to cool down is not the same as someone who disappears for days as punishment. Learning to distinguish between these is crucial. And sometimes, despite everything, you have to face a harder question. Not every silence means the same thing. Some people go quiet because they're overwhelmed and don't have better tools. They struggle with emotional regulation. They never learned how to stay present during conflict. They shut down because they don't know what else to do. This isn't okay, but it's workable. People can learn. Patterns can change. But some silences are part of something bigger. When someone consistently uses silence to punish, when there's never accountability or willingness to examine the behavior, when the pattern repeats no matter how many conversations you have about it, when you feel controlled, manipulated, powerless, these are warning signs. Chronic silent treatment, the kind that happens over and over with no recognition and no change, is a form of emotional abuse. Not every silent treatment is abuse, but every emotionally abusive relationship includes some form of withdrawal and withholding. You have to be honest with yourself about which situation you're in. Is this someone who's struggling and willing to work on it, or is this someone who's chosen silence as their permanent strategy for managing you? Understanding the psychology doesn't obligate you to endure the damage. Compassion for their history doesn't require you to sacrifice your well-being. Which brings us to the choice you might have to make. You don't need their words to make your decision. This is the thing people stay stuck on, waiting for the explanation, the closure, the conversation that will finally make sense of everything. But silence is communication. It's saying something. And sometimes the message is clear, even without words. If someone consistently shows you through their silence that your pain is less important than their comfort, that's information. If someone keeps choosing withdrawal over connection, over and over, that's a pattern. You're allowed to respond to what they're showing you, not just what you wish they would say. Closure isn't something people give you. Healing is something you can take for yourself. You don't need their participation to move forward. You don't need their words to understand what happened. You don't need their apology to decide you deserve better. Remember that statistic from the beginning, 67%? Most relationships include this struggle. You're not alone in having been silenced. And you're not alone in having gone silent yourself. Most of us have been on both sides. But here's what matters. Knowing that, truly understanding the psychology of why people give up on people silently, is how patterns break. Not just in how others treat you, in how you treat others, in how you show up when things get hard. Silence is always a choice. So is speaking, so is staying, so is leaving. Choose the one you can live with. Learn something new? Hit that like button. Share it with others, tap subscribe, and stick around for more. Got thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments.